Hi. I have thoughts and opinions about Star Trek. Welcome to a podcast. Warning: this episode contains spoilers for the following: the entire series of Star Trek Enterprise, the original series original pilot, The Cage, Star Trek Discovery Season 1 and Season 2, Strange New Worlds Season 1, and assorted random facts from across all series. Okay, so as mentioned before, I'm neurodivergent, I'm autistic, and I go through hyperfixation phases. And right now, I am very much into Star Trek. It's one of my regularly occurring hyperfixations, and this time I decided that I was going to watch everything in chronological order because I am very behind on so many things, and I was like, this seems like the easiest way to get through this, right? Picked a bad time to start because I just finished Strange New World season 1, and apparently season 2 starts in a couple weeks. My bad. Gonna move forward and start slogging through the original series because that's what's up next. And it's like the original series and then the animated series. And so we'll see how long it takes me to get through those. Probably not very long because of how fast I watch them. Like it's literally just been a few weeks. And I started with Enterprise because I was like, man, I haven't watched Enterprise in a while. And now I've already gotten through Enterprise and the first 2 seasons of Discovery. And that originally unaired pilot that was the problem wasn't that it was a bad episode. Like now that I've actually watched it, the problem with the first pilot was that it tried to do way too much, way too fast. Yeah. Anyway, so I have thoughts and opinions so far. These are some of them so far. And my first thought and opinion that just never changes every single time there is a strong Vulcan presence, I am reminded that the entirety of the Vulcan species is gaslighting and emotional manipulation. They're like, feelings? What feelings? I don't have feelings. Do you have feelings? No, we don't have feelings. That's a lie. They all have so many feelings that they have to go through a special procedure to lock them up. And they're always like, oh, but that's illogical, and we only do things based on logic. That is also a lie. It's also a lie. They're just very much in denial about how much emotion still controls them. And I just needed to get that off my chest because that is just a running theme. It's a running theme. Every single Vulcan is always like, oh, but you're like thinking emotionally again. And it's like, brah ha ha. Most recently, really well done. Um, Pirate comes in undercover. Nobody knows she's a pirate. And she's all like throwing out waterworks stories. And super young Spock is just gobbling it up, gobbling it up. And you could say, oh, it's because he's half human. No, no. It's because Vulcans just don't want to admit that they think emotionally just as much as they think logically. They are just trained to be able to talk through it. That's it. That's it. They have all the feelings. They just train from a very young age to not show them. The end. That's it. So, anyway, moving on. Starting with Enterprise. We're going to start with Enterprise. I have more thoughts. Okay, so thought number one, Trip and T'Pol, they deserved better. Better. Both separately and together deserved a better everything. I am very aware that because of where it is on the timeline, that they don't know that humans and Vulcans can produce offspring at first. But then there's that whole thing where like we all know that it happened because like yeah, it was an alternate timeline, but like they all remember it, and so if they all can remember it, then they know it's possible. So then why then like their baby gets made like genetically, right? Like a genetic offspring is made. They don't have any hand in making that particular baby, right? They don't actually conceive Elizabeth, right? But they conceived Lorient. And so I'm just saying they knew that it could happen. Because even like at the end of the weird alternate timeline, they're like, well, if they never existed, why do I remember them? So they remember them. Okay. They knew it was possible. Um, yeah. And then there's also like they didn't even have to be a will they won't they. They literally could have been a it was a one-time thing and it just shouldn't have happened. And they could have moved on from that. We could have had that too. I would have been okay with I would have been really, really happy with that actually. I would have been really happy with them going, of course it happened. We were like rubbing all up on each other. Like it's a very intimate thing. And then we did the thing and then that was it. That could have stayed it. Um but then Sim came in and he had to open his mouth, which fair enough. Bro was 2 weeks old. He gets a pass, but then like T'Pol could have just not done what she did there. She could have just not uh kissed him. That would have been a really good idea. And then since she did actually kiss him, what she could have done is been honest with Trip when he came out of the coma and been like before anything could have gotten all jumbled up, she could have been like, so what had happened while you was asleep was, and she didn't do that either. And again, you want to say that you're logical, and the logical thing to do would have been to not do those things, but you did. And so, and I know that they used the fact that she like got the illness or whatever, but they fixed that. They fixed that. So again, Vulcans are like masters of acting actually illogical and then smooth talking their way out of it. Um, it's very, it's giving manipulator. It's giving gaslighting. It's giving kind of abusive, to be honest, because they're always like, "Oh, you're getting heated, so like you're acting irrationally because you're emotional." And tell me that doesn't sound like straight out of a manipulator's handbook, right? Right? If you've been in that kind of relationship, you're with me on this? Okay, cool. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And I'm still mad that Trip died. I'm mad. I'm very, very, very mad. Um, Again, there was like I'm not even mad about Trip dying so much as I am mad that like his poor parents. Like, first Elizabeth, his sister, who they named their daughter after, that was genetically created. But um they already lost their daughter. And then he dies in the stupidest of ways. Absolute bonkers. Why did he it I had a lot of issues with the final episode of Enterprise. Um and one of them is just the very nasty, dirty, gross way that they tried to tie up things and didn't actually. Because I'm just left with so many questions because that did not feel like a trip maneuver. It didn't. Like knowing he was gonna die like that, like he's not done. He would have known. He would have known he was gonna die. He would have known. And he's just like, nope, I'm just gonna kill all of us. Like, what? What? That was his first thought? That it didn't feel right. He deserved better. Because he deserved better, him and Paul deserve better. Like, anyway, I could like keep going on about that, but I won't. I'll be nice. I will stop. We're gonna move on to another thing that about Enterprise. This is actually something that I really liked. Phlox and just like the Denobulans as a species. A plus healthy poly relationships. The worst criticism that I have is when one of his wives comes to visit and is flirting with Trip the whole time, and Trip's all like, whoa, hi, what? But you're married. Because he don't run like that, but nobody explains to him that it's like that's how it just be, right? And so like if somebody had just told him, right? Then he wouldn't have thought that somebody was trying to cheat. And he could have just been like, "No, not my jam." Like if they had just said something. Again with the communication on this show. Just not there. But like overall, one of my favorite lines actually is when Phlox is describing his marriage, and uh, so every Denobulan man has three wives, and every Denobulan woman has three husbands, right? Like that's how they've done life for who knows how long at this point, right? Okay, and uh, on top of that, they're also just like we gonna bone, like we gonna do what we want to do, but like all of them know that that's how it is, and so I just think it's really awesome that like they do that. But Flox is explaining it, and I think he's explaining it to Archer. Oh, I don't remember who he's explaining it to, and I don't want to look it up right now. But so he's explaining it, and the person is like, "Isn't that complicated?" He's like, "Of course. Why else do it?" or something like that. And I was just like, "That's it right there. That's it. That's it. Why else do it?" Like they thrive on the complicated nature of love and family relationships and interrelationships, like interpersonal relationships, and it's really cool. um I would love to have more Denobulan backstory show up. Don't tell me if it does show up. um but I would like it. And then another thing that I really liked was finding out about the Orions and how the women are actually the ones in charge via pheromones. Because that was where they like went whole hog on the trip into Paul thing, right? Like he's so in love with her that these ladies' pheromones do nothing to him. He is so in love with her, so wholeheartedly only wants her that he doesn't even register all this other stuff. Every other dude is like, by the end of the episode, is like, whatever you want. I will do what you want. You want me to shoot her? I'll shoot her. You want me to do this and that and this and that? No. And he is just like, you're not that great, though. You're not that great. And that right there is when they decided that these two were going to be in love. You didn't have to doom them. We didn't need that. We could have had a happy ending. We could have had a happy ending. Yeah. Anyway, so that's my thoughts about Enterprise that I came up with off the top of my head, like right before I sat down to film this. I apologize for not having an episode out before, by the way, but it's fine. Anyway, so now we're moving on to Discovery. I could say something about the cage, but how do I put this? I accept it for what it is within the chronological order of the timeline. I think it's a terrible pilot because I know what you need for a good pilot, not because I think that it's a bad episode. I think that for what it is, it's well acted. I think for what it is, it has a good storyline. I think they tried to do too much too fast, and that's why they didn't like it to begin with. I really think that's what it was. There was too much backstory in the original pilot, The Cage. Too much backstory. That was it. That was the problem. Like, you can be mad, but I think that was the problem. Having watched it now and having watched it like within that context, I think that was the problem. And so I don't really have much to say about it at all. Moving on to Discovery, though, I'm going to put a link to a YouTube video. It's a song called Leave All Your Old Loves by the Shebrews. And this is Ash Tyler, Michael Burnham energy right here. Like it could be from either point of view. It's poor folks right there, man. Those poor kids. Like, yeah. Um hmm. I also do think that they did Culber dirty. I do. I think it was a cheap shot to kill him, and I don't know. It was it wasn't necessary. Like, I don't think that his death and then his subsequent mm, re-existence because like how they did it, I just don't think that it really did anything for the storyline. um Feel free to debate that one down in the comments, though. um and then now we're into Discovery. Let's talk about how the Federation still sucks. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how the Federation sucks, but not for the reasons that you probably think. Why do I think the Federation sucks? Because they show over and over again that they are still and probably will always be a fear based organization. What do I mean by that? So, what I mean is they operate on fear of the unknown. They're still extremely bigoted. Um, they've very much become Vulcan-esque in the way that they speak around their bigotry, though, is what it is. Uh, the Federation, the Federation causes as much trouble as it solves because it is very much a holdover mentality from colonization. Like, you can join us and be under our protection, or things can happen, and, well, maybe we'll get to you in time. But oh, if you're gonna join us and be under our protection, then here's the ways we exact payment from that. So they very much have, like, the organization operates still as an us versus them, with us or against us. Like, they do not like when people choose to not join the Federation but also don't fight them. They don't know how to take that. um they get very, very upset, actually. I just finished Strange New Worlds, like I said, and the one planet that something happens that they don't like, Pike is like, what the absolute F? And to be fair, I understand his feelings. I do. But he's almost more upset that there's nothing that he can do about it than he is about the loss of life that occurs. And it's like, yeah, yeah, it sucks. It really does. But also, like, the leader, like, she's right. There's nothing you can do, bro. And that's part of why they didn't want to join, is because they like the way their system is. Doesn't make it a good system. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying it's kind of weird that they're more upset that they can't do anything. Not everybody wants a big brother. And the Federation doesn't like that. And that feels very, yeah. So, yeah. Um, and then there's also the weird, there's the mm, there's the way that they treat genetically enhanced individuals, and, like, I understand to an extent. um but it's also like a nurture versus nature thing, and then, like, I don't know. It's I don't like the way that they treat the augmented people, um for a number of reasons. um but partly because it's like some augments are okay and some aren't. So like in Enterprise, you've got the augments that Dr. Soong kidnapped, essentially, right? And he raised them and told them that they were better than everyone, which, from what we get through the backstory conversations and stuff, is what the augments that were originally created were also told, is that they're better. Well, what if we didn't raise a person to have that feeling that they're better because of their abilities? Like, what if we didn't say you're an inherently better person because you're smarter and faster and stronger, etc.? What if that was just considered another part of them? Would they have ended up that way? And the answer is probably not. Spoilers, I've already watched DS9 a number of times. So I'm just saying that the Federation created these problems because they're saying that genetically modified humans are a no-no. They're a no-no for augmentation. But then in Discovery, we have Ariam, and she's augmented, but I guess it doesn't count because it's not genetically augmented, it's cybernetic. Make it make sense. Now, that doesn't mean that I necessarily agree with genetically modifying anyone, at least not at conception, which is what we know happened with the augments, right? Is that's like from birth they are different. But I'm also seeing that like the Illyrians might not be the bad guys, is what I'm saying. If it's a choice you're allowed to make when you're older, I don't necessarily see it as a problem. But also, like, part of that could be because, like, I'm trans, and so I see a very big trans allegory throughout the whole thing there. So it's just my opinion on the augmentation and the genetically modified beings. Like the Suliban were genetically modified, but they were genetically modified out of fear. I'm just I just have a lot of feelings about people being able to exist. Like the augments didn't ask to be augmented, and it's not their fault that somebody else decided to play around with the genome. And then also, like, even after Soon took the ones he did and raised them, and they kept all of the other embryos. And if you think that they're such a danger, you've done the genocide before. You've done it before, dear Federation. You've done that kind of thing before. I don't know. So there it is. That's my thoughts and opinions on Star Trek so far today. Um And I had, oh no, where is it? Oh, okay. Anyway, so now we're gonna real quick do the AI caption fail of the week. Again, I apologize for having missed a week. A lot went down. It was just sometimes it's better to just call it a draw. So this is from the last episode. All right. So at 1341, I said, "There's a reason I named myself Yitzhak, as in Isaac." The caption says, "There's a reason I named myself You Suck." I don't suck, guys. Do I? Okay. Mm. Sometimes I suck. Sometimes I'm the absolute worst. But I did not name myself You'd Suck. Didn't do that. So thank you to YouTube's automatic caption for this. Really appreciate that. So, yeah, this is a very short episode, but I hope you guys enjoyed at least a little bit of my ramblings about Star Trek. And there will probably be a lot more thoughts because now I'm going to watch the original series, which I have never been able to actually really like get into. So this is going to be fun for me, not really. But I'll get through it. I'll get through it because I have to. Like, I'm a completionist, except I don't like when things end. So I still haven't finished all of the Animorphs books. Yeah. Um, The Librarians, the TV show from like the early 2010s or whatever it was. Didn't finish the last two episodes. I really don't like when things end. Okay. So, luckily, Star Trek ending is not going to happen for a while. Not completely. It will never completely end, I am sure. If there is a a fan thing that you want me to go on and on about, then you can suggest it to me in the comments. While you're down there, you could do all the other engagement stuff. You could click the like button. You could subscribe if you want to actually hear more of this. You could turn on notifications because I'm still not regular with this. I'm trying, but I am not yet. So if you get a notification, you'll know the next time one comes up. You could also share this if you want to start a dialogue with why the Federation is just colonialism 6.0 or whatever it is. If you are listening on Spotify, then my question for you is, who's your favorite background character in Star Trek? Any series, any movie, I want to know who your favorite background character is. Um, I would say off the top of my head, oh, that's a really hard one. Morn's the easy answer. Um, so I'll go with that one for now. I reserve the right to change my mind in the next episode. Um, your homework this week is to watch or listen to or read something just for yourself. Consume a piece of media just for fun, just for you. And bonus points if it's something that You tried to talk yourself out of liking because of whatever reason, but you just can't. Give yourself that dopamine hit. You deserve it. And I'll have another episode as soon as possible. This has been a podcast.